Today on Aging Untold, when the sun goes down, confusion can spike.
The biggest thing I want people to know is you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that are really struggling with this.
How you can help keep things calm when someone you love is experiencing what's called sundowning. Plus, downsizing your home can mean less stress, not less life.
And so it's really just thinking about the season of life we're in now and where we're headed.
What you can do for an easier transition. And later, bringing new beats to an old tradition.
It's not been easy every year, and so it's been really special to celebrate that longevity.
We take an in-depth look at one company's vinyl revival. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. If you're caring for someone with memory loss, you may notice the hardest hours can come at the end of the day. It's a condition known as sundowning, when confusion, anxiety, or behavior changes ramp up in the late afternoon and evening. Sam, why is this so challenging for so many families?
Because they don't understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest issue is, you've got this pretty passive, really calm person throughout the morning, throughout the day. Things are really, confusion, yes. Memory loss, yes. Changes, yes. But they're just passively calm. And then you get towards the evening and there's agitation, there's aggravation, there can be some hostility to such. There's just all these things going on all of a sudden, and it's like, what happened? What happened? You were calm 5 minutes ago, and what happens is that brain is exhausted.
Yeah,
that brain has done all its reserve is gone.
How about all of us? If we get tired, we get cranky.
Yeah.
What about your cell phone? If you run it all day,
it gets tired.
It's going to get drained, right?
Right.
Children do it. You run them all day.
Right.
It's basically the brain is saying, hey, I need help.
Right.
I'm running out of energy.
Right.
That's all it's saying.
And families trying to interpret that and then understand what to do with that. And I know you've seen it in communities, Amy.
What I'd want people to know is you're not alone, and it doesn't last forever. This stage is not a forever stage. Now, when I say that, we say in the business, if you've seen one person with a memory impairment, you've seen one person with a memory impairment. So going to the next stage, it could be they're just so tired they can't get up and walk around. It could be that they're so severely confused that they don't have the energy to go. It could be that they died. Yeah. So you don't know what the next stage is, but I guess the hope that I'd want to give a caregiver is that it's temporary. Now, temporary for some could be a year and a half. Temporary for some could be 3 months. And so I would challenge people to listen to what they're saying. And you've had this experience with, are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Is the shadows at night scaring them? Do you need a night light?
Yeah. And I think sometimes too is recognizing what the patterns were before the change. What were the patterns in my life before this dementia, brain change, brain damage happened? Was I coming home from work at 4 or 5 o'clock every day? And so now the pattern is a little more excitement about being with kids and family and those things. And was I maybe a little more agitated? So those patterns, or did I work afternoon shifts? Did I work evening shifts? So knowing what the person did historically helps us understand how to manage the behaviors and the patterns of today. And that's a big one for any caregiver and for anybody case managing for sure.
So when that light starts going down, they start to see shadows and things like that. So they don't know what they are, or their routine, that what you thought was routine for them becomes confusing. And I think if you can create routine for the brain, if the brain knows what's coming next, that's calming as well too. And also, many times people will make sure it's very, very lit early on. Don't wait till it goes down so they can kind of keep that whole lighting and all that, minimize those shadows or whatever they're seeing.
So think about the environment. What can we do in the home, in the environment that supports the brain and what's going on? I think another great thing to do is visit memory care communities has a way of kind of doing homework, but also for the education. Because if you understand why the home is built the way it is, a memory care home is built the way it is, why it's decorated the way it is, what kind of activities they have, what kind of training they have, you can glean so much from that, and then maybe incorporate that into your lifestyle at home, or have a plan for later that is more supportive and allows people to also kind of have peace in their life too, because it's very, very difficult to be in that position.
And I always say, if this is a new behavior, don't just assume it's sundowning. Don't just assume that this is a progression of that dementia. Please rule out whether or not we have a urinary tract infection or another infection. Maybe a constipation. Maybe there's a med change. Something's metabolizing different. Even if that med's been on board for a long time, because of the way the brain changes, it'll metabolize it differently as well. So, am I in pain?
Right.
What else could be happening? Don't just automatically assume this is disease progression and this is my new life, because you could miss something very key and something that you could treat very easily.
And you have to remember, small things will overwhelm them very easily.
That's
right.
Small things, little small things that used to bother them.
Have you been around somebody with ADD?
Right. The frustration is so high with caregivers. It's a tough behavior to work with. Yes. If you have to, and I'm not really a medication person, I like the non-pharmacological approaches, but if you can't seem to get anything, go to the doctor and work with a physician to temporarily find a medication, perhaps temporary, to help get through some of the acuteness of it.
Coming up, a man's life is on the line until a deputy with a life-saving device shows up in the right place at the right time.
Clear, good, clear. Shocking.
Shock delivered. We reveal the critical seconds after he arrives and the first aid device experts say every public place should have. But first, the saying goes, less is more.
And I like to think, well, I'm going to save some money, get a smaller place, and do other things with my money. That's kind of how I think about it.
How you can choose a space that supports the next chapter in your life.
We all consider moving at some point in life, and sometimes going smaller just makes sense. But there doesn't have to be a downside to downsizing. With a plan, the choice can bring freedom, safety, and emotional closure. Amy, when should older adults start thinking about downsizing?
I think when you approach your mid-50s and you're coming up on 60 and you're looking at each other, if you're married, and you're saying, is this going to work for us here? If I become unable to get walking around, or how am I going to do with the steps? How big is the house? How hard do I want to work to maintain the house? I think that's the kind of questions that should be asked really early on, because that downsizing decision, and for me, I think about the expense of having a huge house that you never use a lot of the rooms. And I like to think, well, I'm going to save some money, get a smaller place, and do other things with my money. That's kind of how I think about it. But there's a lot of people out there who have their home and their kids come back home and it means something to them.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And frankly, there's not enough places to downsize to in most areas. And so if you're thinking about, we might want to consider options. First of all, asking yourselves that questions. Very important, so you're just being thoughtful and mindful, but there just aren't enough places maybe to downsize to, and so you'd want to start looking early, and it doesn't even necessarily mean downsize in terms of a smaller place. It could be same square footage, but arranged better for your season of life you're in now or the future. Some people might build a bigger home, and a home where they could have multi-generational living, and so it's really just thinking about the season of life we're in now and where we're headed, and where are we going to really be best served by our environment, because people can just like barricade in and lock down, and it might not be the best environment. Maybe you could dream a new dream and think about what options there might be.
I think it's deciding what's a priority for you. What's important to me. So living in a home where there's an accessible full restroom and shower, that ability. If I'm in a 2-story and the only full shower the full bath is on the second floor, and I may end up not able to ambulate stairs. That's something to consider. Can I remodel that home to make it accessible? But that for me would be probably the most important thing. I personally want a home that's big enough for my kids and grandkids to be able to come visit.
Yeah.
Sure.
That means a lot to me.
Sure.
And I don't want to give that up until I would have to.
A lot of people feel the same way, but you also have to think, well, the kids really come visit, because sometimes they're really not coming. And so now you are getting a larger apartment thinking they're going to come visit that third bedroom, or you're staying in a larger home with maybe almost a romantic notion that people are going to come, and in reality they don't.
I look at it for myself. God, the time has just snuck up on me. I'm like, I have all this stuff in my house, and
Yeah.
I probably need to downsize, but it's overwhelming.
That is the
overwhelming.
word. That is
to
the
get
word.
rid of all this stuff that you have built up over years.
I think that's right. I think that's why a lot of people don't downsize, is that they're so overwhelmed at the immensity of all the work they're going to have to do, and they don't realize just take a little bit at a time, focus on the room you don't care about, you know, have 4 piles. I'm going to give away, I'm going to sell, I'm going to keep, I'm going to trash, and get a friend who's really good at it to help you, like chip away at it. Have a friend that really knows your memories, and have somebody that's really organized that can throw stuff out. Hopefully they'd be in one person, but sometimes they're not.
Probably not.
They're not.
I think somebody that can ask you clarifying questions so it's easier for you to make decisions, because a lot of this is just decision fatigue. But addressing your mature life tasks really help you feel more empowered.
Still to come,
We've getting records coming out a lot faster, a lot cleaner.
how record pressing companies are using new technology to produce the same great music. But first, a heart-stopping moment.
So just kind of out of the blue, really no warning.
A night out with friends at a bowling alley became a fight for survival. How 6 letters, 3 men, and 1 device helped spare a man's life. Find more Aging Untold content on your favorite social platform. You can follow Aging Untold on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok now.
Every year, the American Heart Association says that 350,000 people experience sudden cardiac arrest. In Lansing, Michigan, a man is alive because when his heart stopped, 3 people knew what to do and took action. Ann Emmerich introduces us to his angels in the alley. We want to warn you, this story includes video of a medical emergency.
It's good for recreation, it's good for friendships, and it doesn't hurt that I'm a pretty good bowler too.
Dennis Kelly is among dozens who show up every week to City Limits in Mason for the Monday Night Bowling League. He averages a 195, and friends say he's a pretty good person too.
Go out of his way to do anything for you.
Scott Shaberg works at the bowling alley, bowls with Dennis, and calls him one of his best friends.
I was on the next lane over, yep, we were bowling against each other that night.
A night, the sound of bowling balls hitting the pins stopped, and the alley stood still. Dennis was getting ready to bowl when he collapsed.
911, where's your emergency? We have a person down. We're in the bowling alley, Mason City Limits.
So just kind of out of the blue, really no warning. We were all scrambling around trying to get him some help.
Kevin Ammerman was not supposed to be there that night. He agreed to substitute on a team and was about 10 lanes down from Dennis.
Being a retired paramedic, I kind of made my way down there to see what was going on.
Dennis had suffered sudden cardiac arrest.
Is he conscious right now? Is he awake? Nope. Right now I don't have a pulse. I'm starting CPR on him.
At that point, I started CPR right away. There was an off-duty county deputy that was here having dinner, so he came out.
One of the things they asked right away when he went down, is there an AED in this facility? And everybody was looking around and they couldn't find one.
Go ahead, what's your plate?
At just that moment, a deputy just down the road heard the call on his radio.
He just happened to be in the right place. Deputy Bellinger was driving by and had the AED with him, and that was critical.
All right, keep going straight ahead. They'll tell you.
Yeah, I got CPR in progress.
They started CPR, brought him back, and now they've had to start it again.
So we all carry AEDs on patrol with us. That way, anytime we get a call, regardless of if somewhere has an AED or not, we're able to bring ours in.
First responders say that AED, or automated electronic defibrillator, was key to saving Dennis Kelly's life.
Everyone clear? Good. Clear. Shocking.
Shock delivered.
Okay, second shock.
I think it ended up delivering 4 shocks total, but when they loaded him in the ambulance, he actually had his heart rate back.
1, 2, 3. Out.
3 men in the right place at the right time with the right skills. It's not lost on Dennis how close he came to death.
I think we have angels all around us on earth in the form of people who help.
It's really imperative for all of us. We're called to be good Samaritans, and we are called to take care of our fellow man and be prepared to do so.
You know, when I was over in the UK, they converted all their red telephone booths into stations for
defibrillators.
Yeah. And it sent the message so close to home for me. Like, I don't know where the defibrillator stations are, where I'm going. And I thought I really should. Right. But there it was right front and center. And so I took it to heart. Like, wherever I am, do I know where that is? And do I keep up with my CPR training?
Right.
I think you have to. And, you know, you do it, and they say once a year or once every other year, but you're not going to remember. You got to practice it.
Right.
You know, and just remember CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, all that's doing is keeping the blood flow and the oxygen to the brain until you can get other help. Right. It's that AED that's saving you.
That's right. Yeah. It's getting that the electric impulse back in to get the heart going again.
Just buying time until you can get that. Yep. All right, and CPR training has changed a little bit too.
It has changed a lot.
Yeah, and so you've got to keep up with it.
But it's so accessible. They make it so accessible.
They make it easy to do, maybe through the Red Cross, through fire departments, different individuals in your city may teach it in your local area. So you could reach out to the Area Agency on Aging and other organizations to find out where to take that training.
From the Beatles' first U.S. record to Taylor Swift's latest hits, see how the largest record pressing plant in North America has stayed a part of music's biggest moments after nearly going silent in the 90s.
Vinyl records once again reigned supreme. In 2022, wax surpassed CDs as the most popular physical music format for the first time in more than 3 decades. To keep up with the growth, America's oldest and largest record pressing plant is innovating in Nashville. Brendan Tierney shows us how United Record Pressing is using new technology alongside the Music City's history.
One record after another, these presses are trying to keep up with vinyl demand that's higher than ever before.
Create plates.
Cam Serrett says it's more than just country music. Fans and artists from across the world turn to Nashville for their records.
Open palette for being able to do kind of whatever you want creatively.
Over the past 75 years, United Record Pressing has become the largest producer in the nation, creating everything from the Beatles' first U.S. record to Taylor Swift's latest hits.
It's not been easy every year, and so it's been really special to celebrate that longevity.
Cam says they were down to just 12 employees in the 90s, but after the vinyl resurgence during the pandemic, they now ship out around 8 million records a year, with the original presses running right next to new technology using AI.
Catching mistakes before we even have to run tests.
They're able to do everything in this small factory along Allied Drive. From creating the lacquers out of digital music files to making sure the art is exactly how the musicians want it. All the way down to the color and pattern of the vinyl itself that's coming out of the presses and getting trimmed down to size.
Something you're going to pop in and listen to.
Davina Stevens helps plan the process that takes around 10 weeks. She says the technology they use has come a long way, but the music hasn't changed.
We've getting records coming out a lot faster, a lot cleaner, and you're getting the quality coming out the same.
Cam loves looking through the more than 4 decades of masters in the warehouse. Just a couple of aisles over from the hundreds of pallets of sleeves they have staged.
Everything is here for the music process.
Keeping the tradition by checking both sides of every record by hand, while preparing for whatever they need to press next.
Super cool. I'm glad they made it all those years, and now they're producing 8 million records.
Right.
But I think, we got rooked. We had the 8 tracks.
Oh, yeah, we did. Cassettes.
Tapes. I mean, all
We
these
had the
things.
vinyls.
And we're like, what?
And we had different size vinyls.
I had vinyls. I had vinyls.
Oh, I still have vinyls.
No, I know, and I don't. I'm so regretful on one of my efficient moves, and I got rid of all my vinyl
See,
records.
it's
and
that
now,
downsizing you talk about. The negative side.
We did some downsizing, but we went as a family through every album, and we just laughed and had so much fun. The kids took what they wanted, and we kept some too. So we have our
Oh,
favorites.
that's nice.
I think I was walking through Walmart just the other day, and they had albums.
They do.
Yeah, because they now have where you can buy a combo to play them.
It's really a thing. My nieces and nephews are collectors now, and it's amazing. I watch them and I think, how did this happen?
Yeah. Because everything will eventually come back into style.
Yep.
Look at the clothes. Look at the vinyls.
Look at the bad haircuts.
Look at the bad haircuts.
So do you think?
Yeah, mullets are back.
So are 8-tracks coming back?
I don't think 8-tracks will ever come back. And if cassettes come back, pencils have to come back because we got to make sure we can tighten them up.
Yes, we do. We're all getting older, so it's about time we talk about it. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, ignoring your health as a caregiver can put you and the person depending on you at risk.
Really, the person needs to realize, and they're afraid, but they're afraid of being that only system left in place.
We'll explain the backup plan you need to work on now to protect you and your loved one.